Well, welcome. This is Rob Ainscough here again. I'm going to go over an issue that people, or I should say a fix or a way to fix the texture loading of buildings and AutoGen out into the distance. A common problem prior to Prepared 3D version 4.4 was that the textures of airports and or scenery objects and or AutoGen would continually load and unload. So if you flew around in a circle around an airport, it would unload and then it came back into view. It would slowly reload. You'd see all the textures. There'd be all black boxes, and then the textures would slowly fill in as they populate the objects with. And this was a fairly significant eyesore for Prepared 3D to versions prior to version 4.4. So in version 4.4, they've made a few extra tweaks to help us resolve that issue in most cases. It may not work in all cases, but it should help in most cases. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start off with demonstrating the problem so you can see what the problem is, and then I'll go ahead and show you how to resolve that problem and also monitor the kind of memory usage that problem incurs. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to load up the MSI Afterburner, and this is my overclocking of the GPU / monitoring of the GPU CPU temperatures, including how much memory they're going to use. And I want to load this because I want to be able to show the memory differences between these settings of before and after. I do have an overclocking profile. I'll go ahead and load it. This is not relevant to this video really, but I just had as a habit, I always load it. And what this is going to do, here's RivaTuner, which is a part of the MSI install. And it's going to have display all the information we need to see in the upper left corner. I've picked a fairly large font here, so hopefully it's easy to see. And some of that information is going to be GPU memory usage. And if you go in here, monitoring, and you can see here, I have the NOSD, which means on-screen display. So we've got GPU temperature, usage, memory usage of each GPU. In this particular test, I'm actually only running one GPU. I'll get into another video about some issues with SLI, and that's why I'm only really doing this test with one GPU. But that's fine. Whether it's one or two GPUs doesn't affect or change the outcome of this test. And then I monitor CPU temperature and a few other things, clock and stuff like that. So that's all set up. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and let's go and fire up Prepared 3D. And before that, I'm not going to get into the config file because I just want to show you the problem first. So let's go ahead and fire up Prepared 3D. Okay, so we've got our F22. This is our MSI Afterburner RivaTuner statistics. I'm going to change the airport here to EGLL. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a good airport to use. This is Aerosoft's EGLL. This is London Heathrow. I used Aerosoft because, like I said, it's a good demonstration of the problem that was apparent in prior versions of Prepared 3D. So let's go ahead and go into the sim here. Okay, so we're in the sim. So let's go ahead and demonstrate the issue that we've got here. And as you can see over here, there's our FPS usage. It's locked to VSync. My VSync signal is 30. This is main system RAM usage, 8.8 gigs. And this is memory usage for GPU 1 here, 8.3 gigs. Let's try and remember this value, because when we go back and some changes, this value will probably go up. So we're at 8.3 gig right now. So let's go ahead and bring the aircraft forward and show you what will happen to the scenery. So we're turning onto the main runway here at EGLL. And you notice, there you go, all these buildings over here are black. Notice that? Now these textures are eventually going to fill in. You can see them filling in. Slowly filling in. All these are black, all these are black, and now there you go. They finally all filled in. Now that's the problem that we're going to try and solve. Now if you take a look over here at the memory usage, it's 8213, and that's obviously increased since we first started with 8.3 gigs. So now all these textures filled in, our memory usage has gone up, and you can see that now we have everything filled in. Now if we go ahead and fly, just going to do an ugly takeoff here. What's going to happen is we're going to take off, and those textures, when we get past them, we're going to unload. So here we go. So everything's nicely loaded right now. Passing it. As soon as we turn around, we're going to run into some problems. Alright, so we've passed EGL, and we have the city in the background over here. Let's go ahead and turn around and see what happens to our buildings. See, they're all black here, and they start to load, and they'll slowly load. We'll turn from black to textures loading, but you can see the process here is fairly slow because it's a fairly large airport and a lot of textures to load. And there are more black ones here. There we go. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to try and resolve that problem. To do here, exit. Okay, so we've exited Prepare 3D. I'm just going to verify that everything's unloaded. Nothing left. Oh, still loaded up. There we go. It can take a while for Prepare 3D to unload, so it's always a good idea to wait and make sure it's done. Making sure nothing else is loaded here, like UT Live or nothing like that. Looks like we're all good to go. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and edit the prepare3d.cfg file. Now this file is located in your user directory, app data, roaming, Lockheed Martin, prepare3d. It'll be the prepare3d.cfg file. And what we want to do, one simple change actually, is go to the, I already have a line for it, but this is the line that we want to get to. It's called the max texture request distance. This is located in your graphics section here, so this must be in that graphics section. The value here is at 1000. That's the default value that Lockheed Martin have entered. What you can do is you can modify that value. Now my understanding is this value can be anywhere from 1 to, well, not 1, but anywhere up to 1 million or 2 million, or whatever, however much memory you think you can handle. The experimentation I've done is this is the line above here, which I'm going to uncomment. The the semicolon here means it's commented out, so I'm going to uncomment that line out. I'm going to comment this line out. So now what we have here is a max test request distance of 320,000. It's quite a bit more than 1,000. What that's going to do is it's going to allow more allocation of memory for textures. So if you have additional VRAM to spare, additional GPU VRAM to spare, this is going to load more into that GRAM early on, so it doesn't keep loading and unloading. This value it will basically work by itself. There's no other need to change anything else. But if you want to increase it, you can. Play with the values all you like. But the 320,000 seems to work well for me. And it does actually work in conjunction with, where's the other value here? It does work with the scenery draw distance value here. This value can actually go all the way up to 128,000, but it is tied to the UI. So be careful if you modify this value, because if you go into your graphics user interface, it will want to change this value to whatever your sliders are currently at. But this, again, this value isn't required in order to solve this texture unloading problem. This is the key for the texture unloading problem. What this value will do, the scenery draw distance, it will actually allow you to see the airport load from further away. And obviously, it's not just the airport, but it's AutoGen. A lot of scenery items will load from much further away. And this is obviously going to put more stress on memory usage and possibly FPS as well. Like I said, the maximum value for this is 128,000. But what you have to do is set it in the UI and then go in and manually change this value. But for now, we're not touching this. We're just going to leave it alone. Because like I said, the issue of solving the loading and unloading of textures is actually the max texture request distance. And this we've increased from 1,000. We're now running at 320,000. So with that said, let's go ahead and save the file and load up Prepare3D and see what happens. Now we've got our MSI loaded here, so we can get our information from that. Let's go ahead and fire up Prepare3D, and then I can show you the difference. Alright, so we're in Prepare3D. We've got our statistical data here. Going to go ahead and change to the same airport we were at before, EGOL, the active runway. Hit OK. Clear weather. And alright, so there we've got the airport loaded. There's our same aircraft, same date and time. And let's go ahead and hit OK, get into the sim. Okay, so here we are. We're in the sim. And as you can see here, with that modification I made to Prepare3D CFG, the memory usage of GPU 1 is now increased. Remember before, without that change, it was around 8.3 gigs. Now we're at 8.8 gigs. And here's our RAM usage as well. Our FPS are about the same. Nothing's really changed there. So it doesn't appear to be much of a penalty so far with that setting. So with that said, let's go ahead and see if we now solve the problem of the AutoGen, or I should say building textures loading and unloading. Go ahead and approach main runway here. Let's see if we can see our buildings redraw, or if they're magically already drawn. And look at that, there they are. So as you can see here, there's no black buildings. These are already drawn in place. Textures are there, so we didn't have to wait for these to get drawn and present themselves. So as you can see, that setting already has had some benefit. So let's go ahead and do the same flight. the same flight, and we'll loop around again so you can see that the textures stay in place. And again, this is Airsoft's EGGL, UT Live, and a bunch of other things loaded. So let's go ahead and pass up the airport here. I have every option enabled in the Airsoft EGGL configuration panel, so all the features that I could enable have been enabled. So we'll go ahead, we'll pass the airport here, making sure we're far enough out like we did before, and then we'll go ahead and turn around. For any redrawing or not redrawing. Hopefully we'll see that we don't have to redraw any of the building textures. And voila, sure enough we don't. As you can see, all these textures are now still in place. There's no redrawing, there's no black boxes, there's no unloading of the textures. The textures remain loaded. Nothing is redrawing. This is good both at a performance perspective. So that's a quick demonstration of what that setting will do and how it will help keep textures loaded for your airports or other scenery that you may have loaded. And I hope this helps anyone been suffering that particular problem.